Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Badmouth. Glad to have Rick Curti on the broadcast. Rick, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
All right, and Mel Farr has a special guest, Kenzo. Good evening, Mr. Farr.
How's it going, guys?
All right, you ready to talk some football tonight, and maybe some other sports to sprinkle in a little bit?
I'm ready.
Absolutely.
All right, it's our holiday version with this trio here. So we're going to start on the hardwood, though. To me, it's a very interesting. Houston Cougars coach Kelvin Sampson told reporters today that all players, all 15 of them, and some coaching staff tested positive at some point. All 15 players on a basketball team testing positive. Listen, we know the NFL stuff. We know everywhere else, but all 15 on one team, that's pretty weird. Strange, but then again, maybe it isn't so weird during these unprecedented times. All right, Rick, go ahead. You're the COVID spokesperson. Go ahead. What's your take on that?
They've been partying too much. That's the take. I mean, for them to test that positive like that, they ain't social distancing. They ain't wearing masks. They're probably partying. They're being careless. There's no way in the world that all those people should be testing positive unless they're doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. So, and they're young kids. They're like in their 20s. A lot of young people think COVID is not a big deal. They still want to say it's the flu. Hey, it's okay to get it, but, you know, you'll recover real soon. So, you know, unfortunately, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Go ahead, Mel. 15 for 15. Coaches.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that people aren't taking this thing seriously. I mean, I don't know if I shared with you guys, but 2 weeks ago, my daughter's uncle passed away from COVID, and he's the same age as I am. He's 55 years old. Went to University of Kentucky a number of years ago and played football there. And it kind of happened kind of quickly. You know, Monday he wasn't feeling well. Wednesday got tested. Saturday found out he was positive, and then Sunday he passed. So it's unfortunate that people aren't taking this thing seriously because, again, it runs the gamut as far as the effects on the human body. Some people have no symptoms whatsoever, and then others that, you know, it takes them out of here. But it's unfortunate. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. These are young kids. They need direction. When you're young, you think you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. These things don't happen to you. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes, you know, bad things happen. You look at what happened to the kid who collapsed on the court.
Right.
From the University of Florida. Now, we don't know if this is COVID related or not. They say that it's something that, you know, once he did have COVID, and they say that people who do have COVID, there's some things that can happen to their heart. I'm glad to see he's doing well. It looks like he might probably going to pull through. But again, this is very, very serious, and you got to take it seriously.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I agree with both of you. Those kids at Houston, like a lot of places, ain't even NFL players, but when you're talking students, and I'm talking about students not wearing masks, they have 15 go down. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what went wrong or what didn't go right. They were negligent, period. All right, let's talk about the NFL. They won't mandate the use of local playoff bubbles. A good thing or bad thing?
Playoff bubble? I think it's a good thing. I mean, why not?
They won't mandate.
Oh, they won't do it. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the NBA did it, and it worked well. I mean, I think they should. I mean, you have to be. It's better to be on the safe side. So, I mean, but, you know, people could sneak out of those bubbles, you know, and go do things they shouldn't be doing. But I would imply a bubble. I think it would be a good thing. But if they don't, I mean, but that's on them. But for me, I would do a bubble.
Yeah, I think their rationale, obviously, they probably don't feel that they can control that many people in a bubble type of situation, or it might be difficult to put that many people in a bubble because what they were concerned about is that in a bubble, if somebody were to get infected, then all those people are at risk who are in the bubble. Well, the purpose of the bubble is for nobody to be at risk, to make sure that nobody brings that into the bubble. That's why it's called a bubble.
Right.
Everybody's supposed to be protected in the bubble. So, so far, they've done, a decent job with, handling it the way that they've been handling it. So they might as well just go ahead and continue to do it without the bubble.
Yeah, for some reason or another, and I don't know why I feel this way, but bubble can be carried out in the NFL. You have everything for one game elimination is what it is. So you bring them in, more bodies in, more bodies out. So you've lived by the current system. You might as well stick with it. If you're in there for a certain period of time, bubble a one game knockout. I don't think it would actually work in this particular scenario. All right, let's stay on to the NFL. Sean Payton says that Jameis Winston could be the Saints starter once Drew Brees retires. Are you buying this, Mr. Curti?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if that was the case, then he'd be the quarterback right now. I think it was a slap in the face when they didn't put. I assumed that he would be the quarterback when Breeze went down, and when he didn't, to me it was like a slap in the face. That showed me that they don't have any confidence in him, that maybe he hasn't grown up. So for him to say that is actually kind of laughable, because if he felt that way, he'd be the quarterback right now, and he's not the quarterback. So I'm not buying it at all.
What about you, Mel?
Well, I mean, he said he could be. So, I mean, I take him at his word. He said he could be. That doesn't mean that he will be.
Right.
It means if he's still there, because I think he signed a 1-year deal, if he's still there, he'll get the opportunity to compete for the starting job. Obviously, there's something about Jameis that Sean does like. And he's the one that sees both of these guys in practice every day. And Taysom has his limitations. He's a dual threat, but sometimes those dual threats, they're not really a running back. They're not a great running back, or they're really an exceptional running back, and they're not a very good quarterback. And I think he falls in that category where, he's a pretty good running back. He runs the ball pretty well, but he doesn't throw the ball that well. Well, we know Jameis can throw the ball. He can sling it all over the yard. I think he's led the league in passing before. So, I think there's some qualities that Sean Payton absolutely likes about him. And if Drew Brees did decide to retire, I think he would, he'd have the opportunity to start.
For some crazy reason, and I preface what I'm saying here, some crazy reason, I am buying this one. And the reason why I'm buying this one is for this reason, right? He's going to have a full year carrying a clipboard, learning the Saints offense, where, you know what, you're just sponging the offense, trying to gain your confidence a little bit and getting used to the system. And you know what, to me, it doesn't hurt to take a year off. Remember when Jim Plunkett needed time to sit back and relax a little bit after his time when New England, and how did he do with the Raiders? Okay.
And 2 Super Bowls.
So there's no crime in a quarterback taking a year or 2 off. Jim Plunkett bounced back very, very well, and it led to a Super Bowl. So, you know what? I think Jameis Winston has a lot of good football left in him. I really do. Needs to be disciplined, needs to learn the playbook. He'll have another off season to work with him should he stick around. OTAs, preseason, training camp, which a lot of those things are compromised this year because of COVID-19. So give him a full year and more reps under a non-pressure situation. And then if he comes back come August, you just never really know. So I don't know why. I'm actually buying, and I'm buying it because of Jim Plunkett. Think about it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got a great story to talk about in the NBA, and I really know there aren't many of them, but I like this one. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 26 years of age, wanted to repay the Bucks' loyalty with an extension because he's a man of his word. Boy, I'll tell you, when I hear the word "man of my word," that's jingled in my ears. I love it because I am too. So he signs a 5-year extension worth $228 million, and he's been there since he's 18, number 15 overall pick in the 2013 draft. That means 14 teams passed on this guy. He was wrong to get up to the best part. And the guy that drafted him, I got to know and work with the Detroit Pistons named John Hammond. I am really happy Giannis didn't take the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar route and go to LA or any big market. And he's really loyal because I'll tell you one thing, he's a real big folk hero in Milwaukee. I think he has a brother playing there anyways. But, I have now Milwaukee ties. It's a great city. It really is. I don't want to hear all about all this social injustice, which can happen in any city. It just does. But getting to know the Milwaukee community, as I have begun to know now, that, let me tell you, Giannis Antetokounmpo wins a championship there, he'll get a statue, and he may get a statue in Milwaukee anyways. But to not spurn the Bucks and play locally, I think it's one of the best NBA stories of 2020. Rick?
Yeah, I totally agree. I love it too. It was so easy. One of the reasons I don't like the NBA is these superstars want to join superstars. I mean, I try to picture Magic Johnson and Larry Bird teaming together, or Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. I mean, it would be ridiculous. And now these guys want to take the shortcut, and you see it with Harden wants to go to Brooklyn, or then you got Durant and Irving there, and everybody wants to play with their friends now, and there's no rivalry anymore. That's no fun anymore. And so I applaud him because he didn't go to a big, sexy, big city like a New York or Los Angeles. He wants to be the big star there. He said, hey, they can come here and join me, but I'm going to be the star. And if I'm going to win a championship, I'm going to win it the right way and not join a bunch of all-stars and be like a second banana, like a Chris Bosh. So good for him.
Yeah, I think it's just awesome. I really do. I mean, Antetokounmpo, to me, what he means to that organization, that city, and, again, he didn't want to leave this team hanging all year going into next year either. And that, to me, gains a lot of respect for doing that. Now, let's not kid ourselves. The Bucks are trying to make moves in the offseason to get more talent around him. So they see that he's trying extremely hard, that they're trying to find more players. So kudos all the way around. Mel, what do you think about Giannis?
I think it was a smart move. I mean, he's loyal to his wallet, his pocketbook, and that's where he was going to get the most money. So it makes all the sense in the world. He can always get traded. I mean, they trade people all the time, and if things don't work out there, he can always demand a trade like everybody else has been doing. So, and you talk about Magic. I mean, Magic was drafted. Kareem was already there. So there was a super team that was already built. Then they bring in, somehow or another, they got a high draft pick, and they're able to get James Worthy. He had a big three there. So he didn't have to, ask to join Larry Bird or anything like that, because he had, he had the better end of that deal. But for him, for a young kid, I think that Milwaukee suits him. From everything that I've seen in the past, from interviews, I think he really likes Milwaukee. I don't think he really wants the big bright lights. I don't think he wants the pressure of the bright lights of being in a big city. I think Milwaukee suits him, and it's good for the league too. I think it's good for the league when you have a small city like Milwaukee that's able to keep one of their homegrown talents, and that's what you want to do. When you draft well, you want to keep your talent.
Oh yeah, and that's like Rick alluded to before, that everybody wants to play with their friends. Where's the old nastiness in this league? It isn't there, okay? And the shortcut, I like the word shortcut because a lot of them are trying to do that. You're right. There was a good nucleus in place for the Lakers, and all these guys eventually got drafted. Whereas everybody else, let's go ahead and leave. And to see a guy be able to spend his entire career one city, to me, is great. I know last night on a broadcast, it was refreshing that Kobe Bryant got to play in one place, but those situations are far and few between. So being a big fish in a little pond suits him well, and more importantly, doesn't have to do with a very critical media market, because with all due respect, Milwaukee, they're not going to batter them up over one stupid rebound block. They don't care. I mean, they're a fair, small market, media market team that not every move is going to be scrutinized or magnified. So more power to Giannis. I think that's the best story in the NBA all year. And I will tell you, that will be number one in my eyes. All right, let's go over to Major League Baseball, sport Rick Curti's all too familiar with. Major League Baseball is telling the managers to expect on-time spring training start in 2021. Doable, Rick?
It's easier said than done. We don't know yet. I mean, I know the vaccine's coming out and people are taking it, but it's limited. It's still a big question mark. I would love to I think it's great. I think I applaud them for saying that. Expect it. That would be fantastic. But, this thing is so unpredictable. So the jury's still out for me. But I like their optimism. But it's just, like I said, the jury's still out. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think, Mel? Is it realistic or not?
Yeah, I mean, you see basketball starting up. Football is going to finish up. They're going to have a Super Bowl, playoff Super Bowl. College football, they're going to have their playoffs, and then they're going to have the championship game as well. So, yeah, this makes more sense. I mean, Major League Baseball, but spring training starts around latter part of February, early part of March?
Yeah, late February is when they start reporting, and then, of course, it gets interesting.
So, they got a couple months to figure this thing out again, I guess. But, they did a pretty good job with it last year. They had that one little situation with the Marlins, I believe it was, and they got that straightened out,
right,
and really didn't have any problems.
Yeah, St. Louis Cardinals had problems, but they had to adapt along the way. And to baseball's credit, they were one of the first sports that had to deal with those outbreaks. Everybody had a little time, and they were still getting hit with them. But Major League Baseball, of all the sports, had the biggest challenge on the planet, knowing that they had to get going a little quicker than most. Football had a little time. In college, football has been a chaotic mess, as football has too. But baseball, I thought, handled it as well as they could. I think that they don't want their season to start in April, and they're looking to reduce the amount of games. But we'll get into that once we get more clarity on that. I want to put that out there. But, yeah, I think it's realistically doable that it could start on time. But then again, when you're talking COVID-19, what you think 1 second versus what will happen the next second is anybody's guess. All right, well, I'm wearing a Lions hat. Maybe that's a good omen here that the Chris Spielman hire in Detroit's a step in the right direction for this football team. So Mel, obviously you have ties with the Detroit Lions, and your dad played there, and you're very well, you were raised in the area. So what's your thoughts about Chris Spielman being Sheila Ford or Ford Hamp, right-hand person, basically?
I think it's a good hire. I don't know. I know Chris is a good football guy as far as, high IQ, as far as everything that goes on in the football field. As far as his knowledge in the front office, I'm not very familiar with it, but I think he's somebody that she can definitely lean on. He's been in the booth for a long time, so he's been in a lot of different front offices. He sees what works. He sees what doesn't work. Obviously, he has his brother who's over in Minnesota as well that he can also lean on and ask questions. But I like the Spielmans as people. I mean, Chris is a good guy. And, you can't have enough good guys around your organization. And somebody like him, and another thing is, I don't know why Chris doesn't get more talk about his play as far as being a Hall of Famer, because, at that time, there wasn't many better than him at that position when he was playing. Yeah. And, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
But I think it's a good hire, and I was glad to see it. Bringing somebody back that's going to be able to help her. She's trying to get as many football people around her as possible so she can make the best decision. And that's the way that you make good decisions. You ask questions when you don't know. You don't know. I mean, you only know what you know, and she knows. She knows where her limitations are, and to have somebody like him to bounce ideas off of, I think is outstanding.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a good hire. I like Chris Spielman. He's a great football player. I always, I remember when he was with his wife when she passed away of cancer, and that was very, very sad. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable, a lot of experience. And we'll see what happens if he's part of he's a consultant there. So, he's got a lot of experience of what to do, who to hire, who not to hire. And she'll listen to him because of his knowledge of football. And I hope it works out. I hope he's not another Matt Millen, who, another great football player, but that didn't work out. So hopefully he'll help him out. I mean, Detroit they need all the help they can get. And there's nothing wrong with getting a proven quality football player who's with a lot of experience and who's very, knowledgeable about what he's doing and well respected in the league too. So I think it's a good hire, and like I said, I mean, you can't get any worse right now. I'm unfortunate with the Lions.
Yeah, he won't be another Matt Millen because, number one, Matt Millen had a lot more authority than Chris Spielman's going to have. But Chris Spielman's a very, like you guys alluded to, very knowledgeable football person. He doesn't want the GM job anyways. He does not. He's already admitted he's not qualified to do it. But when you talk about an individual's football IQ, I preface the words football IQ, like you guys have talked about, his is very, very high. And you know, bringing in the timing of it's really, really good too, because now he's begun to get involved early in the process to bring these individuals in. And when you talk about Chris Spielman being part of that, people know what kind of he was a good player. There's no question about it. Why maybe he may get in the Hall of Fame way down the road. You never know. But right now, I don't think that's just really big deal. He just wants to make sure that people understand the culture. You know, the Fords can become good owners because they're patient. The problem that you have is, are they patient with the wrong people? That's where you draw the line. And the underlying factor is, why would a coach want to go there? Well, when you leave the Lions, you never get hired full time. So that's where you run into issues. Could that stigma change with Jim Caldwell and maybe with Jim Schwartz as well being hired? I think those two guys could probably end up coaching again. I do see a possible return for both of them. Keeping on point with the Lions, though, I like Chris Spielman's hire. And again, you can never have enough good quality minds in the building. You cannot do it. Step in the right direction. Nobody's going to do cartwheels over it, but at least you can feel good about it, and hopefully the Lions can finally get this thing turned around after 60 years. Because a few people got to realize that the last time the Lions won a championship was on my birthday in 1957, and I wasn't even born yet. 5 years before my birthday, they won a championship, and an easy date to remember. All right, well, let's talk about some football games. We're going to go 2 college and 4 before we wrap up the broadcast. Southeastern Conference Championship, Alabama Crimson Tide, Florida Gators. Florida Gators made life difficult when they lost to LSU over the weekend. Otherwise, who knows? They could be in the Final Four. But, Mel, my question to you is, does Florida even have a puncher's chance against Alabama?
I mean, obviously, yeah, they have a puncher's chance. I mean, if something happens, the quarterback goes down, Mac Jones goes down, then yeah, they have a chance. But you know, Alabama's been playing lights out this year. They've been playing good football this year during this pandemic year and this year of uncertainty. So Alabama, you know, they're probably, you know, they're definitely the cream of the crop in the SEC. They got some veteran leadership with the quarterback and the running back coming back for an additional year, Najee. So they're looking to do something. They're looking to leave their mark at the University of Alabama. So I expect them to take care of Florida, not have any problems with Florida, and get into the playoffs and make a run for another championship.
Rick, how do you break this matchup down?
Oh, I think Alabama's going to win in a rout. You know, I think Florida had a wasted opportunity against LSU. I think they absolutely just overlooked them, didn't take them seriously. We're going to go in there and wipe them out, especially in Florida, and they terrible loss for them. Makes it even worse when Dan Mullen comes out and guarantees a victory over Alabama, and it's just like, no, this is going to be a disaster for Florida, and Alabama's going to win in a rout.
Yeah, you know, you guys are right. Excuse me. Florida should have won that game against LSU, and I think they were looking ahead to Alabama. Surprise,
Yep.
You lost. You lost by 3 points. Well, I'd like to see the Gators win it. It's a hard speaking. There's perception and there's reality. I think, in my mind, that Alabama wins by double digits, maybe between at least 2 touchdowns. All right. Now, the one more intriguing matchups is Clemson against Notre Dame. I have never rooted for Notre Dame before. I rooted for them to beat Clemson before. I'm sick and tired of Dabo Swinney. He absolutely gets on my nerves for whatever reason. I don't know. He thinks that he's the biggest prima donna. To his credit, his team has played well the last several years. But I am rooting for Notre Dame to beat Clemson again, even though Trevor Lawrence will be under center, or who knows if anybody's ever under center unless you're in a shotgun formation, but will be your signal caller. So I'm pulling for Notre Dame to beat Clemson twice. What about you guys? Mel, you're in that neck of the woods. How do you rate at round 2 between Notre Dame and Clemson?
Yeah, it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year. And the last time they played, Trevor Lawrence didn't play. And, even though the quarterback that came in was good, he's not Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence probably will be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft coming up in the spring. I'm looking forward to it as a football fan. I'm looking forward to this game, and I believe that Clemson will win. I root for anybody against Notre Dame. To be honest with you, I'm not much of a Notre Dame fan, but being unbiased, I still think that Clemson is the better football team. And Dabo, he does things his way. He might be a little arrogant. He might be a little cocky, but he has every reason to be. He knows he's got the best horses in the stable. So when you have the best horses in the stable, you walk around with a certain air about you, and he does. He knows he's got some horses, and in this go around, he knows he's got his main guy too. And this one here's for all the marbles for the ACC championship, and I believe that they will win.
Rick, so who are you taking in this game, Rick?
Yeah, I'm going with Clemson. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I think they're incredibly overrated. I think they won, but they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. Half the players had COVID. And they barely won in Indiana. And this time, Trevor Lawrence will be there. They'll all be there. The game will be here in Charlotte. So it's like a home game for them because they're not that far from North Carolina. And I don't even think it'll be close. I think Notre Dame will get exposed. Notre Dame's a good team, but they're not up there with Alabama. They're not up there with Clemson. I mean, I remember when they were in the playoffs last time, and Clemson just dominated them defensively. So I don't see this game being close, and I think it'll be Alabama and Clemson.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys. Notre Dame was fortunate to get a win the first time around, but like we always say, see a team a second time, let alone you have your best player. You see things different. So I definitely believe that Clemson's going to win by double digits as well. So there you go. So we got only 4 football games this week that I'm going to talk about. Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. The Patriots are 6-7, Dolphins 8-5. Go ahead, Mel. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going to take the Dolphins. The Patriots haven't played very well. I mean, you see why Tom Brady left. I mean, they're just devoid of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And it doesn't matter who's quarterback in that team. It makes it very, very difficult. It just tells you how great, shows you how great Tom Brady is. And because there's because of the lack of talent they have on the offensive side of the ball, I think that Miami's going to win this game.
Rick?
Yeah, the Patriots dynasty's over. It was a great run. They did phenomenal. One of the best franchises. But all good things come to an end. And, that's one of the reasons why Tom Brady left, was because not only was he not getting the money that he wanted to get, but there was no talent there. And eventually he got all his money now. He's in Florida now. He has paying his state taxes. And, I've been very critical, Cam. This is one of the reasons I've been very critical, Cam, because he's a great running quarterback, but when they force him to throw the ball, that's where they have the problems with. And the Panthers are trying to make him a pocket quarterback, didn't work out, and he just has problems being a pure pocket quarterback. Just doesn't work. So they have to use him, but he's just not, it's not worked out. And, I like Miami in this. And, unfortunately, the Patriots dynasty, it's done.
Believe it or not, I'm going to be different from you guys. Bill Belichick, his record against young quarterbacks is pretty good. So I'm going to roll with the Patriots in this particular game. If they come up with a defensive scheme that makes life a little bit difficult for Tua, I smell an upset in this. So I'm actually going to go the other way to be a little different with you guys. I'm going to go with the Patriots to win it. They're playing with desperation to try to get in the playoffs. So I'll go Patriots, see what happens. All right, Seattle against Washington. The Seahawks are 9-4. The Washington football team 6-7, but the Washington football team is looking for the 5th straight win. So Mel, who do you have in this one?
We'll go with the Seahawks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with the Seahawks. I don't know, is Alex Smith gonna play this week?
Well, that's it. I mean, if Alex Smith plays, it's a different football game. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think he left with an injury last week, but I think Seattle is trying to get ready for the playoffs, and I think that they'll definitely win this game.
Rick?
Well, I'm going to go with an upset here. I think Alex Smith will play. I mean, the man almost had his leg amputated, and he almost died. So I think he's going to be fine. I know it's a calf strain, but they said it wasn't serious. So I expect him to play, and the momentum's all with the Redskins right now. I'm kind of disappointed with the Seahawks. They just have been up and down. They'll look great, and then they'll lose to somebody that they should have beaten. I love Russell Wilson. I think he's great, but, I love all the momentum with the Washington team and with Alex Smith there, and I think they're on a roll. And I'm going to go with an upset here with the former Redskin team, and I think Washington will pull this out.
You know what? I'm going with you, Rick, on this one. Oh, if Alex Smith plays, the Washington football team wins. If he doesn't play, then I'll give the edge to Seattle because, again, that's a variable that we have, and we don't have any updated information here on this broadcast that dictates otherwise. So, let's face reality. Alex Smith has found a fountain of youth, and he's looking pretty good. And you're talking about a guy that didn't want to go out the way he did. My goodness, he easily goes down as a comeback story, not only of the year, but of the decade or the century with what he had to go through. So I'm going to go Washington for all intents and purposes right now. 2 more games we have to go. Kansas City Chiefs 12 up, 1 down. New Orleans 10-3. How do you like what Philadelphia did to New Orleans with Jalen Hurts? 2-part question, and then you predict the game. All right, Mel, lead it off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to be happy for the kid again. For the player, Jalen Hurts played well, had the first opportunity to start and got a W. That's good. But it's more than just that. New Orleans with their defense. Everybody's talking about their defense, and Jalen Hurts being a rookie, you thought it might have been a different outcome. But happy for the player. I expect Kansas City to win this game. Defensively they're not on the same level as New Orleans, but I think with Taysom Hill, there's some limitations there, and you can expose him, and you need to take advantage of the fact that Drew Brees is not in there, and so I think this is a perfect opportunity for them to expose Taysom Hill and come out of there with a win.
Yeah, I'm going with Kansas City in this. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. They're on a roll right now. I mean, no Super Bowl hangover for the Chiefs. Taysom Hill, I mean, he was awful. I mean, let's just say he was awful. He's very limited. I love Jalen Hurts. He was to me, the steal of the draft. I've always liked it, and I'm happy for him. But Kansas City's on a roll. They look fantastic. Mahomes is on a roll, and they have all the confidence in the world. And I'm going to go with Kansas City in this, and I think they'll win by like 10 points.
Well, you got a clean sweep this time. I'm not going upset city on this one. I like the way the Kansas City Chiefs are looking. They really are. Patrick Mahomes easily is one of the top quarterbacks. And now, do I think Kansas City could be challenged against the Buffalo Bills to get out of the AFC? Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not getting in a Bills conversation tonight. But I'm going to tell you right now, talk about this football game in general. Now, if you had a Drew Brees versus Patrick Mahomes matchup, which they wanted, didn't quite work out that way, we're talking a different football game altogether. But right now, Kansas City's not looking good. They're looking great. They are. And, they have a lot of good weapons, wide receivers, adequate running backs, and Andy won it once. No reason to think they're not going to be favored to win it again. So, clean sweep there, Patrick Mahomes. Now, do I think this game could be a little bit closer? I don't know. I'll give it 7 to 10 points in favor of the guys that play their home games at Arrowhead Stadium. All right, tonight's football game, the LA Chargers 4 up, 9 down. The Las Vegas Raiders 7-6. I believe Henry Ruggs is going to be out of this game because of COVID. So, but then again, everybody with the Raiders is always out because of COVID. They haven't quite mastered Rick Curti's message. So, Rick, why don't you go ahead and lead off with the Raiders? They're playing in Sin City where they've been making a lot of sins all year anyways.
Yeah, I call them the Las Vegas COVIDs, because you talk about guys that just don't listen. I mean, you got draft picks taken away from you. You got fined $500,000, and you just still keep doing stupid things. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this. they have nothing to lose. They're going to get ready for next season. The Raiders have just been, they looked really good in the beginning, and now they're starting to. They look terrible. I mean, that Falcon game that was awful, and they should have played better. They have not been playing well at all, and so I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one.
What about you, Mel?
Well, the Chargers just, they squeaked out a win last week. Got lucky last week. And, the Raiders, they fired the defensive coordinator. So, this is like it's a toss-up here. I'm gonna just, because they're playing in Las Vegas, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Fair enough. I'm going with the Chargers, too. And you gave me my reason why. Okay. The Raiders fired their defensive coordinator. Who they have there? Rod Marinelli.
Yeah.
If anybody knows what I think of Rod Marinelli, why don't you talk to Rob Parker, and he'll tell you what he thinks of him, too. I'll never forget a time, believe it or not, in your backyard, Curti. I'm covering the Lions and the Carolina Panthers as we were leading into that. The Lions set a record for most consecutive losses on the road, and they set that record in your backyard, Rick. And Rob Parker goes out there, and he was sticking it to Rod Marinelli, and you know what? Nobody's pushing Rob around. And Rob and I are really good friends, by the way. But anyways, Rod Marinelli, I can't stomach the guy. I can't. Obviously, he did a pretty decent job in Dallas, but he's taken over a defense, by the way, that nearly lost to the New York Jets. So,
yeah.
Where the Chargers right now, I don't know whether they'll retain Anthony Lynn or not. We won't know for a few weeks until Black Monday, ultimately. It's to see who really loses their jobs. But I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one, too. The Raiders right now haven't been playing like a playoff team, and if Ruggs isn't in the lineup, that presents some logistical challenges there as well. So, all right, guys, great broadcast, and I really enjoyed it. Obviously, we're hoping to do some pretty good stuff in 21. So, Mel, what are your closing thoughts about 2020 in general? I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes when you define what the year's been like in your eyes.
Yeah, 2020 has been like a year unlike any other that I've experienced. Obviously with this COVID thing, that's just something that something you never even think about. Just thinking about the entire economy being shut down because of a virus. That's something that's unheard of, and that's something that we've gone through. And then the amount of loss, the 300,000 families that are missing a loved one at their dinner table right now. And like I said, my daughter, her uncle passed away. That's tough. This year's been tough, so I'm looking forward to getting out of 2020 and getting into 2021.
Rick?
Yeah, it's been awful. This is the worst I've ever seen it. This is a pandemic we haven't seen since 1918 with the Spanish flu, and I hope to God we never see anything like this in my lifetime. It's awful. Family members can't see each other. Even when people are dying from COVID, they can't even be in the same room with them. My mom, someone in her family in New Mexico, she died of COVID as well. And it's been awful. So it's going to get better. It's just, people just need to just follow the guidelines, follow the rules, and just be patient. It's not going to happen overnight where it's going to disappear. Little by little by little, things will get better, with this vaccine and, with this new administration that looks like they're taking this seriously. I think that's going to help, but it's going to be a slow progress, but eventually we'll get back to some type of normalcy for 2021.
I guess the two words that stand out in my mind are undescribable and unprecedented. We've seen the emergence of Zoom, which is good for us because now I get to see you guys when we do these shows, and I've gotten involved with a lot of Zoom calls that have really made my life a lot easier here in the media and everything that I do nowadays. But I think the hardest part about COVID-19 was, unfortunately, my mom passed away over Thanksgiving weekend on November 28th. I was there in Michigan for the last week of her existence, and I couldn't go back to Michigan all year because of COVID-19 potential risks. And of course, with my parents being later, my dad turning 80 on December the 5th, and my mom being in her late 70s, it made it impossible for me to take a chance. So, yeah, good riddance, 2020. best part about it, we'll never have to see you again. We can only hope that 2021 is better. What can I say? So, on that note, Mel, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, and then Rick will go on, and then I'll wrap it up.
All social media websites, you can reach me at Mel Farr Jr. That's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Email address is melfarjr@gmail.com. And kind of see what we have going on in the local communities here in Atlanta and Detroit at melfar.org.
Go ahead, Rick.
You can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. Our email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and also on Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti, and you can contact me on any of those social media websites.
Yeah, and I will tell you, Rick, you do a tremendous job helping us at South Florida Tribune by spreading our articles and stories on social media, and we're forever grateful for you as you help us in that department. Well,
thank you.
My name is Scott, Motor City Madmouth. The best way to reach us on social media is on Twitter at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune. You can follow us there. We have a YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. Please subscribe. We're trying to get as many subscribers as we possibly can. That's how you'll access the video version of this broadcast. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. We have all of our stories from our media distribution partners up there. We have them for our columnists, and all of our broadcasts are on there as well. So you can find every broadcast we do on southfloridatribune.com. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. LinkedIn, my name is Scott Morganoff. Feel free to connect with me. I'll be more than happy to connect with you there. If you want to hear the audio version of this broadcast, you can do so with Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or for that matter, folks, wherever you get your podcasts. There's a lot of different ways to access, and we work hard to do what we can to provide you with as much information, insights, and commentary so that you can get a different perspective and you're educated at the same time. So enjoyed working with you guys in 2020. Look forward to doing this again in 2021. And obviously, by then the NFL season will be over with, but I'm sure we'll find pretty good topics to talk about. And we've seen it all, and I'm not going to break down everything in about a minute, but we had to deal with some tough shows between the pandemic and the social injustices that we face in this country. So we can only hope that in 2021 that things are going to get better. I know the one thing I should mention before we close, we lost a lot of great superstars in sports as well. And Rick Curti and I are going to be doing a broadcast with George Eichhorn on December the 28th, and we'll talk about some of those. But Mel, as always, you do a really fine job here. We enjoy the time that you graciously give us. You're on their broadcast. You're a consummate professional. I'm glad that we had a chance to get together in Atlanta, and I do look forward to seeing you when we're able to safely get through I-75 when we're in that area. So, Rick, why don't you give the COVID message, please?
Well, we're at, unfortunately, over 300,000 deaths. Just unimaginable, what we're going through. And unfortunately, there are people out there who don't want to take this seriously. They think this is a hoax or this is just the flu. We haven't seen nothing like this since 1918 of the Spanish flu. And so people just wear your masks, social distance. Please avoid all these crazy bars and that's crowded, or traveling or anything like that. I know it's rough. I've been away from my family. I miss going to restaurants. I miss going to a baseball game. But, we just got to do the best we can do, and we're going to get through this. 2021 is going to be a better year, and we'll get back to some type of normalcy, but it's going to, take a while, but we're going to get back to it. We're not going to let this thing take over our lives. But, in the meantime, just stay home, rent movies, do whatever you can, keep yourself busy, listen to our podcast, and just wear your mask when you go out and just try to avoid people, and be at a safe distance. And not only are you protecting yourself, but you're protecting other people around you as well.
Well done, Rick. So Meanwhile, on behalf of Mel Farr Jr., Kenzo tonight, Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth and Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. We hope everybody goes out there and has a happy holiday season, safe holiday season, and more importantly, a happy new year as well. So, guys, great working with you. And once again, you know, you guys are a part of my family, and I'm proud to have you out there. So, anything else you want to wrap? Say, Mel?
No, man, look forward to doing this, seeing you guys next year. Everybody have a happy holiday and stay safe.
All right. God bless everybody. Happy holidays, and we'll catch you on the next edition of the Sports Exchange that we co-host. Been great having you, everybody with us, joining us all year. Thank you, everybody, and good night. Be safe.